Hey everyone, and welcome to this video where I have in front of me the Batman Hush action figure from Mafex, and they've covered Spider-Man, Miles Morales Spider-Man, and Wolverine before. So we're going to go right in with the packaging, which has a nice big window display box of the actual action figure itself and some of the optional parts that he comes with. Now on the packaging you've got a picture of Batman himself and then of course various text to go with. So let's go on to the back side of the packaging. Now on the back side of the packaging is just promo pictures of the actual action figure itself, and it looks pretty good. Then on one side of the packaging we have Batman Hush in big bold lettering with a picture of the figure, and then on the other side of the packaging we have a big portrait of Batman. On the top is just again Hush Batman figure, and then on the bottom is just the usual sort of manufacturer details. And when you take the figure out of the packaging as well, inside the inlay is a really cool picture by Jim Lee from Batman Hush comic book. So before we get into the actual action figure itself, here's a look at the optional parts that he comes with, and it's a generous amount of parts that he does come with for sure, I think so. So on the right we start with the batarangs. So he comes with a traditional looking set of batarangs, and then one pair that looks a bit like Nightwings at the bottom, and then moving on to his hands, then you get two optional fists which grab onto his cape, which is a nice touch. I'll show you that more later. You've got another one that holds a pair of batarangs in his hands. Then the middle pair of hands, they are both kind of like an open and an even more open pair of hands for action poses. And then his final pair of hands, one has the fists with the batarangs in the knuckles, and then another for his grappling hook. Finally on the left is the grappling hook short piece that you just simply slot into either one of the grappling gun hands. And then of course he comes with an optional second mask head with the grating of the teeth, which looks really cool, nicely sculpted, and then a Bruce Wayne head sculpt, which is also pretty good, and it comes with his separate joint. Finally, then you get the long shaft of the grappling hook itself, which is pretty cool. So then when we take a look at the actual action figure itself, he looks pretty impressive just standing there in a very neutral pose. Again, you can see straight away that he comes with a soft cloth cape with wires in them. It takes a little bit of effort to get it into a really nice kind of position to really make it stand out, but I think the effort pays off in the end. But here you can see the sculpt looks great. The details on this guy look really cool. Shading here and there in places you'll see in his hands later on, as well as some shading around the knuckles, but general kind of molding of this guy is pretty good. But you would notice it's similar to also the Spider-Man and both Spider-Man figures and Wolverine and such that they've done in the past, which is not a bad thing actually. And we'll cover the articulation momentarily, so let's just keep looking again at the details of this figure. And you can see I've got him into a few different poses in this small clip here. So from leaping poses, crouching poses, sitting poses. I've swapped a few of his parts around as well, just to kind of highlight again how this figure really comes into its own once you swap some of his parts and get him actually positioned. Again, a neutral pose is perfectly fine if that's your thing. He looks great for it. But once you pose him, he is pretty cool. And like I said, we're going to go into the articulation once we've covered a bit more of the actual modeling side of this figure itself. Now the cape, you can see I've positioned it in certain ways. I'll go into that more detail as well. And you might, if you look closely, you can see around his collar the wires do peek out a bit. That's a bit of a minor issue. I think you can probably work to hide that again or tuck those in, but I've just kind of left it there just to kind of point that out. But like I said, I think this figure looks super good once you get in post. But let's move on to the articulation now. So to show you the articulation from head to toe, so his head moves up about that much, down like so. The down is mostly from the neck joint, as you can see here. It's not really from the head itself. So it's not a great deal, but it still gets him to look down pretty well, actually. Then tilting side to side and then looking side to side, which is fine. Then going on to his arms lift up about that much. You can move those and rotate those around. With a bicep swivel here, and then the elbow like so, which is perfect amount as well. Then to his wrists like so, and then he can twist them up and down. To his upper torso, you can twist great amount. You can do a crunch like so, lean back like so. It gives him a bit of gap, but nothing too crazy actually. And then lean side to side with the assistance of the lower abs as well, and the hips. The lower hips twist like so, which is great. Then his legs they can pull down. My joints seem to be quite stiff, you can hear that, but they do pull down. Twist inside there. lift his legs up like so, pull him down, and then you can get a little bit higher. Splits like so. And the knee, which is super cool. Knee right to the face. No calf twist. Twist here on the ankle and a pivot, and then the toe joint, which is great. Of course, the soft cape is wired, so you can use this to kind of get into really cool looks if you want. It does require quite a bit of work, but it does pay off, I think, once you do it. So you got a wire here on the very outer edge of the cape, and then you've got another wire here. Apologies if you can't see this clearly, but it is in there. And then the center, there is no wire, it's just plain. And then similarly on the other side, you've got two wires, so right at the edge again, and then another one just before the edge, like so. So I think it's a good way that they've done it, and it allows a lot of possibilities, again subject to you putting in the work and effort to get that done. Let's swap the hands then. Now before I swap this hand, just to kind of point out, the gauntlets, gloves, these little blade things, they can, well, they made me bleed. Batman made me bleed right here on my finger, so just be careful with that. They are soft, so they do bend a little bit, but at the same time, yeah, if it catches your fingers wrong, then yeah, it can make you bleed. So then we're going to put on the grappling gun. Just got to replace it like so. Every one of my additional hands though, they were very tight, so you kind of have to twist it on or heat it up in your palms, and then yeah, you can get it on. So this is just with the grappling hand. Looks pretty good, pretty solid. And then you can attach the actual hook element to it. So I've got the long one here, which is just on an aluminium rod. Try not to bend this because it is quite thin. It's still relatively sturdy, but it is going to snap if you push it too hard, so just be careful with it. And you've got to slot that in like so, and then yeah, he's got the aluminium hook shot or grappling shot. And then you can swap that with the small version as well. Let's swap then his head. So I'm going to swap it to his Bruce Wayne unmasked head sculpt. So all you got to do is pull the head here. Lucky for me, actually, the neck comes off with it. That doesn't always happen. Say, for example, the Peter Parker head swap with the Spider-Man Mafex figure. That was a bit trickier to do. You kind of have to dig around at the neck. So if you're fortunate, then the neck will come off with it, and then you can just pull it off like this to swap to the other masked head. Put that to the side. Grabbing the Bruce Wayne head sculpt. All you got to do is plug that in, and there we go, Bruce Wayne. So the articulation and the swapping is pretty standard to every other Mafex figure. So the figure overall really is pretty cool looking, I think. It stands on its own very well, and it looks great, with Wolverine and Spider-Man here you can see as well, which is fine. I think the scale is pretty good as well. I don't have a lot of issues with the figure. I think the legs, there's a slight issue there, but I can't really point exactly what. I think it's just maybe there's a missing calf twist that I'm after. I'm not sure. I can't tell, but in general, it's a pretty good figure. I'm really happy with it. There is a black version coming out, as in the black suit, just a color variant, which I've got pre-ordered. And they've actually announced they're going to be doing some other characters, so Joker included. Catwoman's been out on pre-order for a while as well, so I'm probably going to check out at least Joker, I think. So overall, I like this figure. I will put links in the description below to where I got my figure from and where you can probably still get it from, because knowing Mafex is probably sold out in most places until you get a reissue, which most surely will happen eventually. In any case, thank you very much for watching this video. Check out my channel for longer versions of action figure unboxings. I've tried to keep this one a lot more brief than I normally do. But again, thanks for watching, and I hope you stay safe and have fun wherever you are. See you in the next video. Peace out.